Alex from Spot Exchange in the Exchange Wire offices. Alex, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Ken.
So today we're going to talk about the lack of transparency in the exchange ecosystem and what we can do to address the problem. Before we do that, Alex is going to kind of talk a little bit about Spot Exchange, and then we're going to go in and do the whiteboard session.
Yep, so for those not familiar, Spot Exchange, world's largest marketplace for video advertising, specializes in real-time selling and buying of digital video inventory.
Excellent. So what are the problems in the ecosystem? I mean, let's talk about the lack of transparency.
Sure.
What's going on?
So at the end of the presentation, we're going to kind of get to two key concepts. First is the idea of a floor and the need for the SSP or the exchange to have visibility into bids that are below those floors. Second has more to do with the problems around lack of transparency around the amount of demand for any given placement. So today, DSPs send a single bid response with a single ad for each ad opportunity. There's some opportunities to expand that for publishers to see the complete amount of demand they have for any ad inventory they might have.
Okay.
So we're going to kind of kick it off. Just kind of start with kind of how things work today and then how we can improve them. So we're going to start off with, let's just say me, Alex, surfing the web, going to a publisher website, and I'm going to focus this around video inventory since that's our specialty.
Yeah.
So I click on the video player, call's going to go out to the publisher ad server, and the ad server is going to check its direct sold campaign queue and try to identify any campaigns that it has for this placement. A call may also go out to an SSP or ad exchange. I'll bundle them together in this context, where the publisher would have segmented the inventory and determined some floor price for the opportunity. How this floor is gotten to is somewhat arbitrary. Frequently they'll look at their rate card, what similar inventory has been going for in the past. But the fact of the matter is, in video today, there haven't really been robust tools in order to project the value of it, and they've been kind of set randomly. So the SSP, let's say for this ad opportunity, the publisher set a floor of $2. The SSP is going to go out and call a series of DSPs to compete.
For that impression.
Exactly. So each DSP will see the floor, along with a host of other information about the placement. And they're going to make a series of decisions about what they may or may not want to return for the campaign. So let's say the DSP A opts out, says this impression opportunity is too much. DSP B looks through its series of campaigns that are flighted in its system and goes through a series of binary decisions based on targeting to see whether or not this placement matches to the advertiser's desires. So let's say that this user's in the UK and this campaign is geo-targeted to the US. This campaign has hit its budget cap for the day. This campaign hit a frequency cap. This campaign is a retargeting campaign, the user isn't in the desired segment, and perhaps this campaign has a very strict completed view rate goal, and historically placements like this haven't really performed that strong. DSP looks at all the campaigns that survive and projects a future value against each of those based on historical performance of similar placements, and it's going to rank them and do an internal auction to see which is the highest and return one creative back to the exchange. So let's say that Coke is returned at a $7 bid. So I won't go through that same exercise with the other two, but let's say that DSP-C returns United Airlines at a $12 bid, and DSP-D returns Unilever.
So basically all single bids from those individual DSPs.
But same process is occurring within each one.
Internal auctions effectively.
Exactly. So the ad exchange will look at all the bids that have been returned. So we have Coke, and we have United Airlines, and we have Unilever, and the associated bid values, and then execute any block list that might be in place for this campaign. So let's say that the publisher already has a direct deal with United Airlines and has blocked it out, executes an auction, selects the winner, sends it back to the publisher ad server, and if all goes well, I see the ad. So a few of the problems with this model. First off, floors. So DSP-A says, okay, I don't want to compete. Is that because they had no campaigns, or is that because they did have a campaign, but it only evaluated this at $1.99? So today, a lot of the traffic that comes into the exchanges is not covered. It's not picked up. And let's pretend that all the other DSPs were to opt out for this. The publisher would have rather sold the ad for $1.99 than not sell it at all, but there's no information back to the publisher about what the floor needed to be in order for it to clear. Second problem is blocks. So DSP-C returned United Airlines, which was eventually excluded from the competition because of a block list. How many advertisers were being represented in DSP-C is open for question, but it could be dozens, could be hundreds. And the DSP is actually at a disadvantage here because they haven't cleared inventory, they haven't had media spend accrue, and they haven't increased their licensing fees. The advertiser didn't get reach, and the publisher wasn't able to realize any revenue. So these are kind of the issues today, and we've identified a few solutions for this, and focus first on the floor problem. Today, the DSP will receive a bid request from the exchange or the SSP with a declaration of the floor. So there's a few different options here, and I'm going to clean this up. So first, we'd have no floor.
No floor.
No floor. The DSP would say, we'll just don't have a floor. Why do we need a floor if we have a liquid market? We're figuring out the market price in real time. Well, what if I go to the auction block and I'm selling my car and only one bidder shows up to the auction? You just won my car for $1. So that's not a very good deal for me, right? So the fact of the matter is there's not enough bid density today in the exchange environment to make up for that lack of liquidity, and the model would break for publishers, there'd be no more inventory in programmatic, and we'd all be out of a job. So second option is we could have multiple floors. And this is something that some exchanges are doing today. So we had an example where we had a floor of $2. What if the DSP also sent a bid request with a floor of $1.50 and also sent a bid request for a floor of $1? So 3 bid requests for 1 opportunity. So in the example before where DSP A opted out because it was $1.99, they would have opted out for this bid request, but they would have opted in for this one. So this presents some challenges. The DSP has to join together all these disparate bid requests into a single impression opportunity. There's a lot of wasted system overhead, and it's just a little bit noisy. The third, which is where we've kind of been leaning as a company at SpotXchange, is lack of reserve on the bid request, or not broadcasting the floor. So with this, there still is a floor, but on the bid request it's not declared. So the DSP will return a bid no matter what, if it's above or below the floor.
So they basically will return, anybody who sees that impression, it'll return multiple bids from that DSP. So there might be 100 bids that'll come in from the stream.
Just a single bid.
Bid.
But if the projected value is below the floor, that'll come back. So what this allows the publisher to do is to actually have a view into how they might negatively adjust the floor price in order to maximize their yield. So we look at some data internally that has bid price, which increases, and bid volume. And it's a histogram. So let's pretend that our floor is here, and in the world today we have a bunch of data here. I'm going to steal that other pen.
Yeah.
But we have no visibility into what's going on in here. So if the publisher were to adjust this floor, they really have no idea how much incremental revenue they might make. In the new model, where the publisher has data and we can actually populate this, the publisher might see that by moving the floor to here, they can increase the volume of impressions sold at a lower rate and maximize their yield. So now to come back to your point earlier about multi-bid, so that's the issue with floors.
Yeah.
And essentially what the publisher needs is visibility into the demand regardless of where the floor is, so that if they can make more revenue by decreasing floors, they have the tools to do so. Second has to do with blocks. So United Airlines and DSPC was excluded, but there's many advertisers that are represented. So how do we solve that problem? How do we fill in the picture for the publishers so that they can see exactly what's going on in terms of the opportunity to monetize their inventory? One option is through block lists APIs. So this is where the SSP or the exchange, through an offline mechanism to the bid process, sends the DSP a list of here's a publisher and here's advertisers that are blocked. This way, the DSP can look and see, okay, well, United Airlines is blocked.
Yeah.
I'm not going to return that bid, even though it was the highest bid value. Maybe I'll return Unilever, because it's possible the same advertisers traffic across multiple DSPs at a lower bid value to be competed in the auction.
Would this block list then, would it be sent once this in the request, in the bid request, or is this being sent initially to the DSP so they know that publisher doesn't want those certain advertisers?
Usually daily.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with the bid stream. So this whole process occurs while I'm waiting for the ad to load. Now the block list probably isn't being modified in that 20 to 50 milliseconds, unless the publisher's really paying close attention, right? So it's going to be a little bit more static, so it doesn't make sense to really convey all that information in the bid request.
Yeah.
OpenRTB does have covenants in there for that, but it's done through an offline process to the bid decisioning, just daily or weekly or maybe when the publisher makes a change, it pushes out to the DSP.
So how come this isn't being done at the minute? I mean, this is common sense effectively.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're obviously missing it on maybe on some bids from that particular DSP.
So OpenRTB actually began as a attempt to standardize this process of blocklist management. DataZoo and Rubicon kind of led the charge with that. And many DSPs and SSPs are doing this today. But there is another problem which we haven't really talked about yet, which is the competition with direct that's happening within the publisher ad server.
Yeah.
So up here I mentioned that the publisher has all these orders which it knows it needs to fill. And at the end of the day, the SSP is just remnant. So it depends on who you ask. Make a little quick chart here. But if this line represents the total amount of digital media spend that's available today, this is how much is available for remnant. So Forrester says that 19% of all display spend in the US this year will be transacted via RTB. So there's a whole lot there that we're not even touching that's being cleared via direct. So if I'm a publisher and RTB is a spot market today where I can only sell one impression, sure I can sell that one impression at $15 CPM, but I have an order here for 50 million impressions at a $5 CPM and I can make much more revenue. So when I send out a bid request to my SSP and that goes out to the corresponding DSPs, all that I'm seeing is a tiny fraction of the total demand for my inventory. If I were to receive back every single one of these bid values, then perhaps I would have an opportunity that could compete with that direct sales and increase my yield. So this is the idea of multi-bid, where it's a whole new paradigm where today we send the DSP a bid request, they return a single ad with a single bid. The DSP would expose all the demand, which could be presented to a publisher, so they can make informed decisions about whether or not they can make more yield than going direct.
But at the minute, there's a church and state thing between the direct and the remnant. I mean, how do you solve that problem? I mean,
within the publisher organization.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Now that's a huge question,
Yeah.
which I think is going to take a long time to settle out.
Yeah.
Within the publisher team, say that this does exist, you're going to have internal channel conflict. There's going to be variance in publishers' cultural adoption of these new tools. Are they hiring the right people? Are they hiring more quantitative skill sets? And is there internal friction between the direct and the ad ops teams? I think that you can see some publishers that are more progressive that are beginning to address those challenges. And eventually, I think that they all will have to in order to effectively monetize in this new environment.
So if these problems are not addressed, are we going to be stuck in a sort of remnant hell type situation where sort of bits and pieces, dollars and dimes effectively for inventory rather than being exposed to the full demand from the demand side, basically, that we're going to be kind of not really seeing the value of the programmatic piece?
Yes, I think so in video.
Yeah.
So the number one problem in video today is a lack of premium broadcast quality content through programmatic channels because it's being sold all through direct. Within display, it's a little bit different, where a lot of the premium inventory is available through public exchange. It's just not publicly declared. So if I'm a trading desk and I'm buying via display, why do I go to this private marketplace so I can see what I'm buying when I know that the same impression is going to appear on the public exchange at a cheaper rate, but maybe it's obfuscated? But in video, the inventory is not even there yet. So the challenge for the video exchanges like SpotXchange's, showing a value proposition to the publisher that really can compete on a dollar by dollar basis with the direct CPMs that are coming today, even the $25 to $50 range for very, very premium broadcast quality content.
Excellent. Alex, thank you for that overview. And
yes.
Obviously we've got a few more problems we need to solve in the ecosystem. So Alex, thank you for coming in today, and that was Trader Talk TV.